You recall Mark Carney, who now just got elected Monday night, got elected to become prime minister, spent his entire campaign bashing America and Trump. That was the whole campaign strategy. Because Mark Carney knows that the Liberal Party and himself don't really have priorities to do anything in the result of helping Canada. That the only way moving forward, the only way they can capitalize any momentum is to come up with this fear-mongering campaign of bashing Trump, bashing his rhetoric, bashing the fact that Trump is trolling Canada with the 51st state, and just ran with it. And sadly, it worked. Sadly, it worked for a lot of people. And here's just an example of this. This was at a rally before the election of him just spewing out this fear-mongering campaign that unfortunately stuck to a lot of Canadians.
I need every single one of you, every minute between now and April 28th, because this is the most important election. And to put an exclamation mark on it, last week, once again, Donald Trump imposed massive tariffs on the world. This time, he skipped Canada. We got the best of a series of bad deals. But you can handle them. We can handle them. We are going to handle them. We are going to handle them. The global economy has fundamentally changed because of these actions. The system of trade that was anchored on the United States, that we as a country have relied on since the end of the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity to our country for decades. That system is over. Yeah, that system is over. And our old relationship with the United States, which in fits and starts, but in the same direction, was based on steadily deepening integration, getting closer with the United States. That relationship is over.
So some harsh words from Mark Carney there, that the U.S.-Canadian relationship is over. Donald Trump gave us a bad deal. The tariffs are disruptive to the global economy, and Canada was going to fight back. It seems all encouraging. It seems all encouraging. We see how the tariffs are affecting people. And, you know, I put the blame on Mark Carney as I do with Donald Trump on these tariffs. This shouldn't have happened. This shouldn't have happened, period, because they could have easily went to the table, got a deal outplaced before the tariffs even started. We know that Donald Trump is only using this tariffs to think that it's going to leverage more people, more countries to his advantage. But it turns out it's going to blow back in America the same way our reciprocal tariffs are blowing back here in Canada. So a lot of people stuck to this motion. A lot of people had some sympathy to this. And that's one of the major factors of how he got elected to become prime minister. But what's interesting about this, now that he's got elected, now that he got your votes, hey, let's make a deal. So all that rhetoric, all that campaign about how the American relationship with Canada was over and how we got to elbows up, we got to fight against Donald Trump, we got to be strong and assertive, we got to not rely on America. Well, Mark Carney did a complete 180. Now that he's elected as prime minister, oh, now we can start doing talks. Now, as according to CTV News, Prime Minister to visit White House, Trump says Carney wants to make a deal. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that Prime Minister Mark Carney, who he called a very nice gentleman, will pay a visit to the White House within the next week or less. A very nice gentleman. Very, very nice. Very nice. Does good business. I hear good things about Brookfield. Trump made the remarks in response to a reporter's question on the Canada-U.S. relationship, which has been strained for months. The two countries are engaged in an enduring trade war affecting a wide range of goods from groceries to auto parts. Trump has also made repeated headlines for suggesting Canada could be a state, and calling for former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau governor. Dealing with Trump became a center pillar for the federal election campaign, with all party leaders weighing in on how best to respond to Trump's actions. Carney pledged repeatedly to build trade relations with countries other than the United States in order to make Canada more independent. Remember he said he was going to make Canada more European. That's what he said. We need to be less American and more European. Which, if anyone's seen what the UK has turned into, arresting their own citizens for free speech, that is scary. That is scary. A statement to think that Canada could become more European. That's not sitting well with someone like me. Dealing with Trump came. Oh, I already read that. I actually think the conservative hated me so much than the so-called liberal, he said, referring to conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Prior to his election victory, Carney said he and Trump agreed to continue trade negotiations after Canadians chose their next prime minister. I wonder why they waited till after the election as opposed to right when the tariff war started. That would actually minimize the impact that's affecting Canadians right now. Because right now, even if they do a deal, even if they do patch up, even if things do have a better outcome, it's too late. It's too late. There's already going to be damage done. There already is damage done. Shipping ports are cutting back. That's going to affect truckers. That's going to affect delivery personnel. That's going to affect your store supermarket shelves. We're already seeing that happening. So why did they wait till after the election to then call each other up and say, hey, we're going to make a deal? Kind of feels like you got duped. You got duped, boy. You got duped. That's our new segment we're going to produce. You got duped, boy. Now Carney has won. He and Trump are expected to reconfigure the central document guiding commerce between the two countries, the Canadian-United States-Mexico Agreement. He called me up yesterday, he said. Let's make a deal, the president said on Wednesday. During on that call, Trump congratulated Carney on his win, and the two agreed to meet in person, according to a statement from Carney's office. Again, they didn't do it when Carney was already prime minister. When Carney took over for Justin Trudeau, got appointed as prime minister, no going down to Mar-a-Lago, no going to the White House, no, not even discussion, not even a call to the White House, barely a call. But now that he's got your votes, he suckered you in for him to win. Oh, now I'm going to do something. The leaders agreed on the importance of Canada and the United States working together as independent sovereign nations for their mutual betterment, reads the statement. Now that the two leaders have agreed to meet, Liberal strategist Jeff Turner says Carney's team should think carefully about how exactly to do that. In an interview with CTV News Channel, Turner says Carney's handlers need to consider what are the optics and mechanisms in that meeting. I love how open and vague they are, just saying that Carney has handlers, which feeds in right to my statements on the whole prime minister leadership role, that really it's just a mascot. That Carney is there to look like the leader, to look like he's making the decisions, but really how countries operate, how Western democracies really operate, is the people behind the prime minister, mostly the lobby firms and special interests and businesses that all collaborate with the government, which is a form of fascism. It is a direct form of fascism. That's the definition of it. But apparently, according to CTV, it's okay. It's fine. If they don't Turner ads, they risk throwing Carney into an experience similar to Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was berated during his public visit in March. Yes, poor little Volodymyr Zelensky. Please, sir, I just need more millions of dollars for my Porsche. I need more millions of dollars so me and my wife can travel in a war zone. Poor little Zelensky. Poor little guy. During the last 10 minutes of that meeting, Trump and U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said Zelensky was not being thankful enough for their country's support during Ukraine's fight against Russia's invasion, accusing him of gambling with World War III. No at Mar-a-Lago, said Turner. No fireside chats. So, this is just, this is the thing that bothers me the most about the outcome of the election. This is the thing that's just so frustrating, is that all this stuff, like Carney was already prime minister. Carney was already in the leadership role to talk with Trump, to negotiate, to deal with these tariffs. The fact that he took this and exploited it for his own campaign, for people to believe that he's going to be an ultimate fighter, that he's going to take on Trump, we're going to take down America, and just exploited it to the farthest degree, only to result in what we said at the beginning, they're going to come to a deal. So, why did we go through this? Why did for months we had to go through up and down tariffs that are now affecting all these industries in a domino effect? Why is this happening? Why couldn't we just do this on day one? And we know we could have done this in day one. Trump gave the ultimatum. Say, hey, we're going to put on tariffs unless you come to the table and we'll talk about how to enforce your, better enforce your border security, how to deal with the fentanyl crisis. Trudeau at the time said he was looking for a fentanyl czar. He was going to deal with the border. He put that, what was it, $1.6 billion investment to the border. And Trump took down the tariffs. There was ways to negotiate. There was ways to deal with this. But now here we are, the 2nd of May, after he just got elected, exploited you for your votes. Now he's going to come to the table. So, again, you got duped. All the people that went to the park and elbows up and champion and rallied that we're not going to deal with America ever again, thinking that this relationship is over, you got duped. You got freaking duped. Now you feel like a chump. Now you feel like a chump. Here's Mark Nixon pointing out that the CBC also talked about how the strategy in which Mark Carney to negotiate with Trump. They say, what if Mark Carney gets Zelensky'd at the live meeting with Trump? He should be prepared to walk out, reporters say. What is your thought? It appears they are best friends now. Will Trump respect Carney? So there's all this speculation on the fact that, oh, is Trump going to pull a Zelensky and bash him and say you're ungrateful and you don't respect America and Mark Carney needs to walk out? Or are you going to actually sit down like respectful adults and deal with this situation like adults? Because after all, Mark Carney and Donald Trump are we're business pals. Mark Carney helped the Trump family numerous times. So they know how to interact with each other. They know how to deal with this. But the media is trying to hyperventilate people into thinking that Mark Carney is going to get shunned by Donald Trump, the big meanie. Listen to this.
In a live meeting between the Prime Minister and the President. I mean, then what do? What does Mark Carney do?
I think he should be prepared to walk out of the meeting if necessary. It's an unacceptable comment, and it's going to be embarrassing to Donald Trump if one of his guests gets up in the middle of a meeting and walks away.
Yeah, it's going to be embarrassing for us. It's going to be embarrassing if we sent our newly elected prime minister to go talk to Donald Trump to negotiate this trade war, and he just decides to walk out. That's going to be bad on us. That's going to be bad on us because we wouldn't have a strong argument or case to battle Trump with. It wouldn't be embarrassing for Trump. It'd be embarrassing for us. So, no, Mark Carney should not walk away if he got Zelensky'd. Love how that's a verb now. Mark Carney needs to have a strong argument. Mark Carney who should have done this way beforehand, should come to the tables and negotiate with Donald Trump like if Canada was an actual business. Here's what we're bringing to the table. Here's what you're bringing to the table. Let's figure out some sort of compromise. Let's figure something out. And that's what Premier Daniel Smith of Alberta, who went down to Mar-a-Lago at the before Trump got elected, and negotiate with Donald Trump, and got us that bit of an extension. We were supposed to have tariffs on January 20th. We were supposed to have tariffs the moment he got inaugurated. And Daniel Smith, because of being a good negotiator, because of being the adult in the situation, was able to give us a bit of an extension. Then they put the tariffs, moved it to February. And then Justin Trudeau said, hey, we're going to deal with the border crisis. We're going to deal with fentanyl. And then that dropped for at least a month. So there's ways to actually fix this. But what the CBC, what the mainstream media and the liberal insiders are doing here is fear-mongering for the worst. They're trying to scare Mark Carney into just walking out. And that's not going to look good for us. That's going to be embarrassment for Canada. That's not going to help us. That's going to be an embarrassment. Here's Viva Fry saying, look at how quickly liberals are going from Trump is the devil to Carney as a hero for making a deal with the devil. And he's quoting this woman, Tokyo Rose. Hey, Canada, elbows up, dumbasses. If your goal was to piss off Trump by voting liberal, it just backfired. And to top it all off, you're all stuck with the same government that caused a decade of financial hardship and record corruption. Well done. It's hard not to argue with that. It's hard not to argue. They played you. They played you like chumps. That's why I said how ridiculous the whole elbows up thing was, and how we're going to shake the fist in America, even though it was all a scam. It was all a scam. It was all charade from the get-go. And Canadians are not that upset about America. They're not going to be finished with America. After all, they're still watching American television. They're still buying American products. A lot of the Canadian companies, some of them came from America. So there was no isolation. There was no fight. It was all charade. You got duped. You got duped into voting for Mark Carney, the central bank globalist, to think he was going to be the, boxer to fight against Trump, and he caves. Just like we predicted. Just like we predicted. So here's Donald Trump with his team, asked by a reporter about how he's going to deal with Mark Carney. Listen to this.
President Canada ran against, not only against the Conservatives, but also against you. Yesterday, yesterday he spoke about American betrayal. Are you interested in rebuilding relations with Canada, and if so, how?
No, well, I think we're going to have a great relationship. He called me up yesterday. He said, "Let's make a deal." He was running for office. They both.
All it was, a phone call. Hey, let's make a deal. That's all it took. All it took. To put at least a slight pause, get to the negotiation table, and maybe get rid of this constant trade war. All it took was a phone call. That's all they had to do. Instead, they made it worse. They exploited it. They used it as a campaign strategy. Got you guys out to the crowds to do the elbows up chant. Got Mike Myers to make an appearance that they had to pay for. And you voted him in, the central bank globalist from WEF. You got him in office. And now here we are. Oh, it was just all a phone call all along. You got duped. Just take a moment to put that into your mind. Just take a moment to let that sink in. You got duped.
Both hated Trump, and it was the one that hated Trump, I think, the least that won. I actually think the conservative hated me much more than the so-called liberal. He's a pretty liberal guy.
So Trump has this deranged theory that he's saying that the conservative guy, Pierre Poilievre, hated me more than Mark Carney. I would argue, as we saw with the campaign, that was the complete opposite. Yes, Pierre Poilievre had fell into the trap eventually, trying to, counteract against Trump and making part of his campaign about that. But keep in mind, Pierre Poilievre was the one who was hammering hard about all the reasons why Trump put the threats of tariff on us. He was the one that came as the opposition to point out that Canada's a fentanyl crisis, that Canada needs to deal with its borders. It has mass migration that is problematic, that there's a cost of living. We're taxing people to death. And it's only getting worse. So Pierre Poilievre, despite, his rhetoric on social media trying to pander to that sort of crowd, I would say he was the guy who hated Trump less than Mark Carney. Mark Carney used it for his entire campaign. He used it as a marketing gimmick to sucker people in.
But no, I spoke to him yesterday. Couldn't have been nicer. And I congratulated him. It was a very mixed signal because it's almost even, which makes it very complicated for the country. It's a pretty tight race. But he's a very nice gentleman, and he's going to come to the White House very shortly.
There you go. A phone call and a visit. All you had to do. Instead, we had to go through these months of terror and fear-mongering and lying, gaslighting, and propagandization. Again, I don't want to be a broken record, but you got duped. Canada. You got duped. And it's even worse because this just came out of BNN Bloomberg, saying Brookfield Infrastructure Partners LP is looking to invest in U.S. manufacturing operations as companies plan to build new plants following President Donald Trump's tariff plans. Brookfield is looking at providing capital to companies that are planning to build new manufacturing back to the country, similar to the firm's $30 billion deal with Intel. So Brookfield, that Mark Carney supposedly left to become prime minister because we were in a crisis and he just happened to be at the right place at the right time. His company is advancing investments into the United States, not Canada, not saving Canada industry, not saving our crumbling infrastructure and manufacturing. He sent it right to the United States. This is the guy that supposedly kept reminding you and gaslighting you and stared directly at your face saying that he was going to fight Trump. We're going to fight America. We don't need Americans. We don't need this havoc. They betrayed us. The relationship is over. And meanwhile, behind closed doors, they're already planning a phone call, a visit to the White House, and now investing a bunch of capital to the United States. This is the most frustrating part coming out of the election. And I didn't vote Mark Carney. I didn't vote the Liberals. But people did, thinking that he was going to be a fighter. And sadly, again, not to sound like a broken record, you got duped. You got played. You're a chump. So here's this guy, Kevin Pacitti, saying, how the hell do liberals square the fact that Carney ran an entire platform of Orange Man bad, and yet Trump endorsed Carney, and now days after the election, it's like they're best friends. You've all been had. We've all been had. Unbelievable. Mind control is a powerful thing. That's all I could say. Mind control, repeating the same garbage, slogans. It's a powerful sentiment to people, especially people that are just either ignorant to the rest of the country and the problems that we're dealing with, or just not bothered to look into things and just feel almost to the point that they're discouraging people, that they're threatening people. Hey, you guys out there that are doing your own research and looking up things, you podcasters, you independent media, the guys at Rebel News and Juno News, having their own publications and writing articles. You guys are bad. You guys are awful. You're traitors to the country. Now how does it feel? Now does it feel? Because he voted for this guy thinking he was going to go after Trump. And it turns out the whole time they were actually pals. They were friends. Almost like the whole entire election process, the whole takeover of Mark Carney into Canada was some sort of manufactured scenario. It's almost like Trump knew that Mark Carney was going to get in and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and you all got duped. I'm not trying to make this mean. I'm not trying to, bash people over the head with this, but that's the case of this. That's the case of this. Here's Kyle Kemper. This is Justin Trudeau's half-brother. Justin Trudeau's half-brother says, Uncle Mark. Call him Uncle Mark. Will never speak to citizen journalists. Now that he's elected, it will become increasingly clear that he works for his friends and not Canadians. Contact your MPs with questions and letters for response. So, Daisy Media caught up to Mark Carney in Ottawa after the election and wanted to ask him, hey, do you feel bad that you betrayed Canadians by this elbows up movement and yet you're best friends with Trump now? Do you feel like you played people? And watch Mark Carney not respond to this.
Mr. Carney, you ran a fear-based campaign focused on Trump, elbows up.
Did you practice that line?
I did, actually.
Why does fear...
Did you hear that?
Does Trump prefer you over...
He said, oh. He said, did you write that? Did you write the elbows up? No, that was your entire campaign. Your entire campaign. You had rallies from coast to coast, chanting elbows up. That was all on you, Mark Carney. That wasn't Daisy Media. That wasn't him. That was all on you.
Over Pierre Polio. Why does Trump say he makes you less? Are you playing?
Do you plan? Do you plan to do anything about the weekly hate marches here in Ottawa?
What are your comments on the marches?
We have weekly hate marches here in Ottawa, assaults on independent journalists. Should you maybe call back Parliament? Parliament's been prorogued a very long time. Should Parliament come back and skip summer vacation, Mr. Carney? Do you think mocking the independent media, the only people here questioning you, is a good way to start?
The press is to hold our leaders accountable, sir, and we will do that. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Bye now.
I look forward to our next meeting, Mr. Carney.
There you go. That's your new savior of Canada. The guy is going to work for all Canadians and can't even answer questions. Cannot answer simple questions. And you notice, too, this is a guy who claims that, the planet is doomed unless we have net zero. But yet he has 1, 2, 3... How many motorcades there? How many motorcades there? For one guy. For one guy. The guy produces more emissions within an hour than most Canadians can do in their lifetime. With all the private plane trips and his motorcades and going back and forth to Europe and to other parts of Canada and to the United States. This guy wastes and pollutes more into the atmosphere than any of us can do combined. But yet, we're the ones that have to suffer. We're the ones that are forced to have an electric vehicle and can't have a gas stove, and you have to have carbon taxes on gasoline because you guys that want fuel all the time, you're causing the destruction. Rules for thee, but not for me. That's Mark Carney for you. And he made Daisy Media made the excellent point that Parliament still has not returned. That's just that's shocking. That's shocking. And you know how far this has been? Parliament does not reconvene until May 26th. So the end of this month, hopefully. The place has been closed since October of 2024. So November, December, January, February, March, April, down to May. 7 months. 7 months. Parliament has not been in the House of Commons. And yet there's a trade war happening. There's cost of living increasing. Inflation's increasing. Carbon taxes are resuming. And they just got a pay raise. 9 months of taxation without representation while giving themselves a pay raise on April 1st. They're saying 9. I think it's supposed to be 7. But they got a pay raise April 1st. Literally, April Fool's Day. No joke. They got a pay raise for not being in office. So, you got duped. I know I've said this a lot, and it sounds like a broken record, but Canada, I just want people to know, and I'm saying this as a Canadian, as a member of this community that's also dealing with this. We got played, we got duped, we got screwed. And like I said, at this point, no matter who's in charge, no matter who's in office, it's now time for us to stand up. It's now time for us to come together, find common causes, find common issues, find common ground with one another. And now is the time than ever to stand up to this mess. Because whether being Mark Carney, whether being Pierre Poilievre, whoever the case may be, whatever the outcome of even this deal is not going to be enough. It is not going to be enough to fix this hole that we've been put under for over a decade. And even longer so. It's going to take more than a miracle to fix the ferocious nightmare that has eroded into this country, and it is just falling off a cliff so fast.